first briefing before International Security Council, Grunberg calls on Houthis to stop their offensive attacks on Ma'rib. Swedish Foreign Minister stresses the need for sustainable peace nationwide and that Yemeni women to have more leading roles. Joint forces thwart Houthi rebels' attacks in Hodeidah and strike back to inflict heavy losses among them. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Shaza Abdelbey. Today, Hans Grunberg has just addressed the UN Security Council in his first briefing as a special envoy to Yemen. The Swedish diplomat called on Houthi rebels to immediately stop their offensive attacks on Ma'rib that aggravate the humanitarian conditions in the city. Also, Grunberg stressed the resumption of the political process would be hard. Efforts will continue to bring all parties to their negotiation table under the absence of the United Nations, Grunberg added. The Swedish Foreign Minister Anna Lindh stressed the need for sustainable peace in Yemen. Anna Lindh confirmed the need of diplomatic, humanitarian and development process to reach peace. During a meeting with the Yemeni Foreign Minister, the Swedish diplomat insisted on the need of a strong woman role to reach what she indicated as political process. United Nations group of eminent international and regional experts described the situation in Yemen being extremely complex. According to this team, the conflict in the country remained complex despite constant international and regional efforts to reach a ceasefire agreement and launch the political process. The team indicated that the conflict parties in Yemen have continued to commit violations of international humanitarian law. Further, the team expressed concern over the state of chaos in the country, which has made it difficult to share information with the panel or even grant consent to the use of data. Previously, the UN envoy to Yemen, Hans Grunberg, met with the Saudi permanent representative to the United Nations, Abdullah al-Muallami, to discuss peace efforts in the country. The two diplomats discussed recent development of the Yemeni crisis and sought ways to push the peace process. The world awaits the new United Nations envoy, whose mandate will be to find a swift path to peace where no obvious one exists. The path is more likely to be long, hard slog that requires a renewed focus on laying the groundwork for sustainable peace. The following report looks into the potential challenges awaiting Hans Grunberg mission.
Houthis chose a major military escalation to welcome the new UN envoy to Yemen, Hans Grunberg, as for the first time. They targeted the eastern regions of Saudi Arabia, which are the oil production areas, with a number of ballistic missiles and drones. They also bombed south of Ma'rib with missiles and sent thousands of their fighters to the fronts west and north of the governorate, in a situation that reflects the extent of the difficulties facing the UN envoy in his mission that started on Sunday. The UN envoy started his first mission with a message addressed to the Yemeni people, in which he affirmed his awareness of the difficulties and complications facing his mission. But he pledged to work and reach peace and said that he and his office would deal with the Yemeni and regional parties openly to return Yemen to the path of peace. Meanwhile, the government, which confirmed its willingness to work on the success of the mission of the UN envoy, described the Houthi escalation as an announcement from them to drop the option of a political solution, especially since it came simultaneously with the group's leader announcement that he is determined to continue war. Also, the militias continue to prove their determination to continue war came by opening recruitment centers and mobilizing students from schools and tempting them to obtain monthly salaries and high grades at the end of the academic year if they joined battlefields. Concurrently, the United Nations Office for Humanitarian Affairs in Yemen renewed the alert that the prolonged conflict, large-scale displacement, severe food insecurity, economic stagnation, the collapse of state institutions, and restricted humanitarian access, along with natural hazards and the COVID-19 pandemic, have caused extremely high levels of humanitarian and protection needs, as more than 20 million people, which is about two-thirds of the population, requires urgent humanitarian assistance. In a new statement, the office said that despite these staggering needs, the humanitarian response plan in Yemen is still only 50% funded. Crucially, as of August 31st, many sectors of the vital humanitarian response had received less than 15% of the funds required to respond to the needs of millions of vulnerable people, including internally displaced, women, children, and disabled people. The new UN envoy receives his mission with a desk full of complex files, despite hopes in the Yemeni scene that Greenberg will be the solution to end the crisis and achieve peace.
In Shabwa, Masan Project for Demining announced that operations to secure Atak International Airport from Houthi planted mines have already started. The commander of the 9th Team engineer Ali Al Raimi said that the team began surveying the airport, which was found to be with missiles and war that were cleared up by the team. In Hudaydah, joint forces thwarted the Houthi militia's infiltration attempt in Hais and inflicted heavy losses among them. Our correspondent said that the joint forces clashes with the Houthi elements using various types of weapons. Units of the 2nd Brigade managed to direct strikes towards those armed elements and inflicted considerable losses among them, while the rest had to flee. In response, the militia rebels shelled residential areas with RPGs and machine guns. In Hudaydah, also Al Jurayfiya village was bombed by the Houthi militia, which caused massive destruction of citizens' homes. A new wave of displacement from Al Jurayfiya heading to Al Hayma started to move due to the Houthi constant violations against civilians. In Ma'rib, air defenses of the government forces shot down a Houthi drone that was covering over Al-Qassara front west of the city. This comes at a time when fires clashes between the government forces and the Houthi militia following new attacks by the rebels through Raghwan, Madghal and Sirwa. The continuing war in Yemen has compounded the crisis of displacement in the country that suffers already from a number of difficulties. 20 million people require humanitarian assistance. More than 4 million Yemeni people remain are displaced and many others need food due to the deplorable economic situation. The following report has more details on this story.
Year after year, the Houthi rebels are causing the displacement of thousands of Yemenis, uprooting them from their areas and villages, imposing a life of displacement on them. In a true embodiment of the human tragedy left by the war in Yemen nearly 6 years ago, the International Organization for Migration announced that at least 172,000 people were displaced from their homes during the past year 2020 due to the conflict. The organization had previously announced that the Ma'rib Governorate is the region that witnessed the highest rate of displacement, indicating that Ma'rib city alone received more than 73,000 new displaced people last year. The International Organization for Migration clarified that some families have been displaced for the 4th and 5th time due to the continuation and expansion of the fighting, and their suffering is increasing in light of the lack of life-saving assistance. These are the most affected by the repercussions of the war. Despite receiving this large number of displaced people in camps allocated by local and international organizations working in the relief field, many complaints were raised about the poor equipment of the camps, including lack of potable water, scarcity of toilets, and the deterioration of tents that do not protect hundreds of families from the repercussions of winter nor the sun. The International Organization for Migration pointed out that the recent movement of the fighting fronts to areas in Al-Baida makes the displacement needs increase even more, affecting civilians and their homes at alarming rates. Yemenis can take several days to flee from one city to another in their own same country. What is the fault of these people who are forced to leave everything behind? Their houses, their families, their work, and all their belongings. And what is the fault of their children who are obliged to leave their studies, schools, houses, and friends, heading to another place they know nothing about? This difficult option that these people are forced to take just because their city was looted and they no longer have a safe place to live in with their children in a country divided by a common war.
Coming next. Despite the ugly war, Yemenis in Taz celebrate Al-Mashaqir festival.
ثالث على منطقة الروضة، استهدف الأطفال الأبرياء اللي يلعبوا في الشارع. بيدعي للسلام، يقول له السلام يقتل أطفالنا، يقتل أطفالنا الأبرياء.
أنا قلت استجعت ولا قلنا يقع واحد صاروخ ثاني، طلعت البيت حقنا عشان ألعب أنا وأصحابي والصاروخ الطرح.
Welcome back. The war has flattened everything in Yemen, including the education system. Millions of children are out of schools. They are either recruited by Houthi rebels or are victims of child labor, as some want to support their families. The following report tries to focus on the bitter reality of education in Yemen.
Backwardness is hitting Yemen again in the age of science. While the world is celebrating the International Day of Literacy, the country is returning back more than 100 years because of the Houthi rebellion. The 8th of September was proclaimed International Literacy Day by UNESCO in 1966. The aim of this celebration is to remind communities of the importance of literacy for individuals and societies, and the need for intensified efforts towards more literate societies. The day is a call to educate people and give them access to quality education. This access to quality education or even literacy is a global basic right for every child, including girls, displaced, and those with disabilities. But yet, the dogmatic mindset of Houthis is an exclusionist one, a mindset which sees Houthis as the legitimate rulers who inherit this divine right by relating to the Prophet. To dominate Yemenis, they have to spread this way of thinking. They already have done this in education. Houthis' manipulation in the educational process in the country is continuing. They introduce changes to the content and they neglect all the tools of basic education. Educational facilities are poor, while the pressure is mounting on the government-run schools after the fees of the private ones increased. There are no classes, and the parents are suffering to secure a place for their children. As to the teacher, they are underpaid and are trying hard to cope with inflation. Moreover, the school books are not available, and the parents have to go to the black market in order to secure one. If available, the book includes materials that incite hatred, sectarianism, and aggression. This Literacy Day is a call for the international community to stop Houthis from attacking schools or turning them into barracks. It is a call to ensure teachers have a regular income and students to go back to real education, to learn and to grow.
The National Committee Against Coronavirus announced 39 new cases of COVID-19 in 6 governorates. Committee officials said on Twitter that 20 cases were recorded in Hadramaut, 9 in Al-Bayda, 5 in Aden, 3 in Al-Dala, and 1 in Al-Mahra. Also 12 deaths were recorded plus 43 recovered cases. With the current updates, the total confirmed cases are 8,306, including 1,561 deaths and 5,162 cases of recovery. The central bank asked all exchange companies and financial transfer networks to suspend sale and purchase of foreign currencies amid a new historical collapse of the Yemeni rial. According to the sources, the Yemeni rial has lost its value against the foreign currency. Exchange companies in Aden created a new black market to buy foreign currencies from citizens. According to eyewitnesses, foreign currencies are bought and sold in Aden, in food stores, bookstores, pharmacies, and other amid absence of regulates. People in Taz have been celebrating what is known as Al-Mashqar Festival for 3 years now. The festival aims to restore luster to Al-Mashqar, a kind of local flower, and send a message of peace in a city that was destroyed by war and filled with gunpowder smell. This report sheds more light on the occasion.
For more than 20 years, Izzeddin Muhammad has been selling flowers and aromatic herbs known as al-mashaqir in one of the corners of the Great Gate, the main entrance to the old city of Ta'az. As usual, Izzeddin stands here from the early morning, arranging al-mashqur to sell large numbers of al-mashaqir to men and women. Al-mashqur is worn on various occasions in weddings, religious events, and community rituals. This motivates Izzeddin to continue this job as a source of income.
I have been working here since 2000, where I sell al-mashaqir flowers and some other herbs, some of which are used for decoration and others are used in medicine. The demand to buy mashaqir increases during wedding seasons and perhaps some other occasion.
Al-Mushqur is one of the authentic Yemeni heritage features that are still present in the live memory of Yemenis. Hence, citizens of Ta'az made an annual festival called Al-Mashaqir Festival, which falls on the 9th of December of every year. Al-Mushqur, whose branches are collected from different aromatic plants such as lavender, basil, and rosemary. Nevertheless, the full portrait is not complete, as the beauty of the picture extends by wearing the plant with traditional Yemeni dress. Men wear it on scarves or what is known as al-shal, while women wear it as an ornament over their heads to appear as a crown over the queen's head.
The aim of the celebration is to revive al-Mushqur and restore its importance, which was abandoned for a short period of time. Al-Mushqur is a symbol of the city of Taiz and Yemen as a whole.
Today we're here to celebrate the heritage of Yemen. We're sending a message of peace to the world from here that Taiz is the city of love and peace.
The celebration of Al-Mashqur Festival included a number of artistic activities in which the cultural plant was distributed in public streets. The scent of this aromatic plant on this day has reported the smell of gunpowder and blood and spread peace and love throughout the city.
Here's a reminder of the main headlines. In his first briefing before International Security Council, Grunberg calls on Houthis to stop their offensive attacks on Ma'rib. Swedish Foreign Minister stresses the need for sustainable peace nationwide and the Yemeni women to have more leading roles. Joint forces thwart Houthi rebels' attacks in Hodeidah and strike back to inflict heavy losses among them. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.